get their supplies from. And that's how that monument was put in there. It looks good, it's appropriate. The horseshoe has 11 in there, and that one's the 12th one. When you go up there, you'll see how, and it flows together. We're gonna have to do a different brochure this next year to show what we have up there. So that's with that. Flowers, we gotta give Cal Quaker a pat in the back again. He buys the potted flowers and puts them up there and maintains them. He's up there cleaning up the park all the time. People like that we need to help us keep that park nice. And it coincides pretty nice with the Westmore Memorial. So we endorse that Westmore Memorial when we give tours, because the Eagle's right there, and so we're always talking about how Westmore, how it was and how important it was to this community. So you need to know that continues with our group too, so we're up there getting tours. With that tours, there's a misconception sometimes that we're probably not using it, the park. It's being used, but we don't put out an agenda of when we have people coming because it's sporadic. We get at different time frames. So we may have a bus tour that comes through that's going to the Browns, who have been very supportive, and we get to have that group sometimes that they'll have. We also have people that will call and say, hey, we've got a group of 5 or 6. Then one of us will just go up, or they do themselves, but we'll go up and go through them. So there's quite a few people that go through that park through the year that people are unaware of. So you need to know that it's being utilized. It's a focal point that's been put out. Somebody says, I don't know if you guys advertise enough. Well, I took my sheet of paper and I thought, well, that's right, I guess we don't tell them. It's in Lamars, Iowa. If you go to your web, you'll see where we're at up there. It's in Travelville, Iowa. We got it in Travelville, Iowa. So it's in there. We've got lamarsin.com. It's in there. We're in the motels, so we have our literature in there and stuff like that. So that's available there. MapQuest, everybody has that, so you can find it. Signs around town that were put up now. If you drive around, you'll see the little signs that says where that park's at or where certain things are in town, in your community, which draws people to those areas. That's in there, so we went around and checked that. Destination Small Town, it's in there in the YELP, it's in there. Like I said, the Browns Theater, it's in there. School programs, it's in there. We do the school program. Quilts of Valor. I don't know if everybody's heard of that yet, but we've did quite a few Quilts of Valor. We have held some at the Veterans Park. Keep in mind, we don't hold them all up there, and we probably won't because of the nature of what these are. We try to, the ladies that do it, I'm just on their shirt tail, they'll call and say, would you come and talk a little bit about the veterans and stuff? And I'm more than happy to do that. But they check locations, they have comfort zones. People have comfort zones. We've been to houses, private people, they want a quilt for a veteran, but they don't want a big program on the streets and stuff. And that's okay. So everybody has to understand, so we're not gonna, because it's been brought up, why don't we try to do them all up there? Now that's not how that works. We all have different feelings, we all have different things that we have to take a look at when we do that. With the Quilts of Valor program, we did several up there, smaller ones, and that's worked out. So that's some of the things that's happening up there at that Veterans Park. I gave you the new person, budget, we're okay in budget. Staying in budget. Any questions?
Thank you, Wayne.
We're okay on that?
Thank
The other thing is one more thing here.
Oh, you're good.
We're good?
You're good.
All right. Let me say one more thing about, this is not the Veterans Park anymore. This is your tax money up at the city cemetery. Up at the city cemetery. We started a venture up at that city cemetery to help straighten out a little bit of the veterans section. So we did research on that and spent some time trying to see what that section was, how it was developed. And thankfully, we started thinking about it before people really realized that Stan Cully used to clean those stones up there. So you go up and watch, or look at what he got through with, and he toiled trying to get those stones clean, because some of those stones just won't take it. It's a different type of stone. So anyway, we started looking at that and said, you know, maybe we need to do something with this, and that's back before 2001. So I said, you know, I think I'm see if I can get some people and see if we can't together make something happen up there. So I approached the city, and then I got a job, of course, to work with our city clerk, new city clerk, on seeing if we couldn't put together some things for that section. Also research to see if it had an ordinance, because I felt it needed an ordinance if you're going to start doing stuff. Also, if we want to use a VA system, maybe there's funding that will come down the road that we say, if we have a section set aside strictly for the veterans, is there a way maybe we could get some VA monies to help offset some costs there? So we looked at that, analyzed that a little bit, said that it doesn't cost you much to do an ordinance, so let's get something in place. So we did that. So that block number 13 now has been designated in phase 1, which you approved. Thank you. It's up to you. You're part of the team. You approved that, and since then we've had some other communities contact me about Lamar's, this type of thing, operation that we have here with City Cemetery. Thanks to Jason too, that he's used to let me run alone and run my own show sometimes, as long as we don't get you in trouble, because I know how that side of the counter works too. So anyway, that ordinance went through. It's a good ordinance, it's a clean ordinance, and all the provisions in there are very, thank you, attorney, are very easy to read. So it's something that a layperson can take a look at, which we need to have a layperson be able to understand some of that. So the funeral homes, they had their hands out saying, hey, we'll take that. And when I said funeral homes, we have 2 good funeral homes here. Good people. Joel Johnson, Dan Rexwinkle, and then previous Doug Carlson, who still helps. You have some good people in this town. I don't hear any bad stuff when they talk to me, and I don't want any bad stuff. Well, we can't fix it, then I'm just as bad. So we always say, hey, we got something, let's see if we can fix it. So together, that particular area up there has been put into, I would say, put into good use and cleaned up a little more. You gotta start somewhere. By the help of those undertakers too. Because they took an interest in it. We had a scout, Sam McGuire, went up there and straightened out some of the stones. East and west are straight. North and south's a little different, because when they started plotting and putting those in there, they got some a little out of. We're not worried about that part. We want to start getting the lines up, because we're in our 4th line now. The last person, or the last one we put up there to start that line was a female, which is Delbert Ann. So she's been buried there. So that starts at 4th. And then if you look, you can't look because I got the papers here. You'll see the accomplishment. And when I had these out, I'll tell you, I used some of the fire department budget, you'll find that out. Making some of those copies, so.
Oops.
I forgot I don't work there sometimes. But anyway, here's some information. recent.
Giving everybody else.
You want to get all the stuff you got.
There you go. Anything else? Great. Okay, if you take a look, there's the monument that's been placed in there. And then what I just went out and took some shots so you can kind of see how it lays in there. So it's going to be a focal point within that particular area there too. So I think if you drive up by there and look. Also, the trees that were in there, we said, talk to Jason and Evelyn, could we get maybe a couple trees out of there that's in the center? He said, well, really? I said, yeah, it really needs all 7. But anyway, if we get a couple and then put a couple evergreens in, well, lo and behold, when I talked to the last bean counter, I got to know this one too, so he's thumbs up, he's right on board. They took out all 7 at one time and then put a border in with the new evergreens up there, so when you go up there and take a look at that, it doesn't look like it looked 2 years ago. And that was phase 2, which we were gonna try to get finished by the end of 2024. It's already in place. Thanks to you people too, because you work with these people on budgets. And so they were able to put that in there. So, I mean, sometimes you don't get enough thanks once in a while, because I know how you get the other side. And but I think people will appreciate it if they can see some things were accomplished. That helps a lot of people, so. Any questions on that? Let's see if I hit everything here. Yeah, exactly. That's good. Any questions on?
I just thank you for all your work.
Yeah.
You know, appreciate it.
You're welcome, but again, most of you know, it's the we, not the me's that make things work. Even if you're a solo guitar player, you better have an audience or you will make it. So, but no, really, seriously, I appreciate the support though that we get from, like I said, Jason, I can call and ask him a question, or he'll call me back right away and kind of lead me in the right direction of people. And it's nice that I do know a lot of these people that work for you as the council of the city. There's some good people out there. But anyway.
Thank you very much, Wayne.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Any other citizens discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to thumbs up award. Mark?
Yeah, a couple of them, thumbs up to all the volunteers and participants for the lighted parade. It seemed like it was well attended, from my view on a bicycle. And thumbs up to the measures for taking over that Lawson's location, and hopefully they have many, many years of good service.
I will echo that and add thumbs up to the volunteers out at Pioneer Village as well. I know that takes a lot of volunteer time and efforts as well. So nobody celebrates Christmas like Lamar's, that's for sure. So, Clark?
Just echo.
Right, I was gonna say the same. Right, same. Okay, moving on to consent items. Under the consent items, we have an approval of the November 21, 2023 regular meeting minutes, a list of bills for period ending 11/30/23, and urban revitalization tax exemption request.
Motion to approve consent items 1 through 3.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to action items, the Federal Airport Capital Improvement Program. So each year the city must submit an updated list of future airport improvements to the FAA. Attached is the 5-year list consisting of fiscal year 2025 to fiscal year 2029 as prepared by Bolton and Mink. The Airport Advisory Committee reviewed this list on November 15th, 2023. The AIP must be submitted by December 20, 2023. Administration and the Airport Advisory Committee are recommending council approval.
Jason, overall, or whoever's on this committee, probably Mike, where are we at on projects in the airport? I mean, are we getting pretty,
No, we keep adding to them.
I know it, but I mean, how are we sitting as an overall big picture saying, how's the airport? I mean, with these projects, does this get us close to where we wanna be in the end result, or?
No, well, yeah, I mean, we're making steps to it. The biggest one, which still doesn't show up on this.
On this, okay.
Here yet, is eventually, oh yeah, it does.
On the second page?
You go way back, it doesn't have a year to it, is the parallel taxiway. That's gonna be a big project. Right now, we don't have a taxiway, our runway is our taxiway.
Okay.
Okay, you go to bigger airports, planes coming in or going out, don't typically, they take essentially paths to the runway.
Right.
Okay? We don't have that. It's required by FAA to have it. But that's.
We have room for it?
Yeah, it'll end up being from in between.
On the west?
No, east.
Okay.
It'll be between where the hangars, where the apron is and the runway.
Okay.
That's the next biggest thing. That doesn't have a year to it yet. But
Okay.
And that's probably, Clark, the last until we think of new stuff.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve submittal of the Federal Airport Capital Improvement Program for fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 29.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the Lamar's Employee Bargaining Unit contract. The City Bargaining Committee and the Lamar's Employee Bargaining Unit have reached a tentative agreement for a new 2-year contract for fiscal year 2025 to 2026. Administration is recommending council approve the contract. The contract is there in your packet.
Any questions? It took one meeting, which is always good.
Joe, how do you feel about this?
I think it'll be a good thing for all the employees.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a chunk.
Yeah.
But they work around it.
To agree to 2 years versus 1 is practical.
And I think it was the sentiment that we have good employees. Across the board, pretty much we have good employees, and if you want to keep good employees these days, you don't have to look very far to find out you want to keep them.
Well, and you want to offer attractive positions for new people.
Absolutely.
To fill vacancies, because that's not always a given anymore.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we were pretty happy with the results, I think.
Yeah.
It is, it's an expense, but if you want to dance, you got to pay the fiddler, that's all there is to it, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2-year Lamar's Employee Bargaining Unit contract for fiscal year 25 and 26.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to discussion items. Jason?
The only thing I have is just a quick update on plywood. If you've been by there, I was by there this morning, and there's areas that are really starting to take shape. Godberson was out there. Like they were getting ready to pour one of the driveways to the Pitts property, or Pick property, sorry. Vanderwent was out there grading around the areas that the trail's already done, and that's starting to look good. There still is a stretch there that's not paved, but their planning, I'm guessing, is still to get it done as weather allows. And then a retaining wall, I think they're supposed to be in this week, was the last I had seen by an email, to start working on that.
Where does that go?
Anywhere where it's not, where there's like a
Is
sharp
the-
drop
yeah,
off of
where
dirt,
there's a
that
pretty-
should be the retaining wall.
Right where, just as you get to those four houses, as the curve starts,
okay.
I think it's to the north end is where
Sure.
the retaining wall's gonna be.
Okay.
Before, what is that, Kern, I think.
Yes.
Right before you get to Kern, that goes into those four properties.
Good.
That's the only update I had.
Joe?
Nothing at this time?
Mike?
Pass.
Brian?
I've been asked to get clarification on trailer parking on the street. Whether it's allowed to have, when it's hooked up to your vehicle, if that's allowed.
I'll answer that best I can. Trailer parking on the street is only allowed if that trailer is actively in use for unloading or loading, or if it's a construction site, as long as it's an active construction site. So to just pull up on the street with your trailer attached and you're not doing nothing, we don't allow that.
You don't allow it for a certain period of time or for?
Sure. If it's a day or two, it's probably not gonna be an issue. If it sits for a week,
Right.
we will address that.
If it's hooked to a vehicle, would it not be considered propelled then?
Well, the way we drafted, I don't have the code right in front of me, but I believe that the way we drafted it, and we had this conversation, I think, before, whether it's hooked up or not, we felt that it was still within those guidelines in the code where you couldn't do it. The issue would be a camper, a large fifth wheel camper that's still attached, and that's really what the original intent of this really was to get rid of a lot of that in the residential